it's Mimi, and I wanted to bring you a new tutorial. A couple of weeks ago, I made a pencil midi skirt, and you guys really seem to like it. You've asked me a lot of questions on how to make it, so I thought I would take my Saturday morning to show you guys how to make the easiest skirt in the world. It really is easy. It's 2 seams, so if you've never sewn before, you could start with this project. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is you need to get some fabric, and you need to make sure that it is stretchy. See how it has a nice little pull to it? You don't want it to be thin because you're working with a negative ease, which means it's going to be fitted all the way down your body. So the thinner your fabric, the more see-through it's going to become as you put it on. So this is a nice kind of medium weight fabric. You could use a double knit or a ponte roma. Those will work really nicely. You probably need about 1 yard of fabric, depending on how tall you are. So here I'm going to take my fabric. It's laying flat on my cutting table. You're going to fold it over because you're going to be cutting the fabric on the fold. Okay. Fabric folded. You're going to take 2 measurements. The first measurement is going to be of your waist. You want to measure the smallest part of your waist. So I am a 25.5. I'm going to take that measurement and I'm going to fold it in half, and that's what you're going to use to mark your fabric. So you're going to put your measurement or your measuring tape on your fabric, fold it in half because you're working with 2 sides, and you're going to make 1 mark. This is tailor's chalk. Then you're going to measure down however far you want it. So I know that I want it to come way below my knee. So this is an easy and cheating kind of way to measure yourself. You hold your tape so that it doesn't move, and then you just crawl your way down. Now I want mine to come at about 27.5 inches, which is about 1.5 inches below the bottom of my knee. I'm going to take that and then I'm going to add about 1.5 inches because I want a wide hem. So that puts me at about 28.5. You're going to measure down from your first mark all the way down, and you're going to make a second mark. Okay, that's all the measuring you need to do. Take a yardstick or any ruler that you have, and you're going to make a line from one marking to the next. I'm working on black fabric, but I think you guys can see that. Now you're going to take this and you're going to make a straight line. Just make sure your ruler's flush to the edge of your fabric so that you know it's a straight line. You're going to make 1 mark there, and you're going to do the same at the bottom. There you go. That's it. Okay, so you're going to take this rectangle and you're going to cut it out. Now, for my seasoned seamstresses, I know you're asking, where's the seam allowance? There's no seam allowance. You don't need a seam allowance because you're working with a negative ease. So if you're a seasoned seamstress, you know what that means. That means you don't want any extra wiggle room in your skirt. So you're working negative to your measurements. Okay, now this is what you should end up with. Now I'm going to take it a step further and I'm going to show you how to sew it. Alright, so I'm going to go to the machine. Alright. You're going to sew using a 1/4 inch seam. Actually, let's use a 1/2 inch seam. here's a little tip. On your machine you have markings which let you know the measurements. So I have my fabric right on that 1/2 inch seam allowance mark, right? Now most people when they sew have a tendency to look at the needle as they're sewing. Well, looking at the needle doesn't help you stay where you're supposed to be. So never mind looking at the needle. The needle's not moving, it's not going anywhere. Keep your eye on the marking and make sure that your fabric is flushed up against that mark. All right. Now you have a tube. The only thing left to do is to sew your hem and add the elastic. Now I wrote about how I attached the elastic, but you guys had some questions, so I'm just going to show you how to do that, okay? First you need to get some elastic. Let me grab mine. Here it is. And you want to use at least a 1 inch wide elastic. You're going to take that, you're going to measure your waist, just like you did with the measuring tape. You're going to pull a little bit so that it's not really snug, but it's just a little snug. You're going to mark that and cut. All right. Now you're going to sew your elastic together before you attach it. So just overlap your elastic about 1/4 inch. I use a zigzag. Okay. This way the elastic lays flat and you don't have a little bump in your seam. Cut any loose threads. Right. You're going to take the elastic and you need to distribute it evenly around the skirt. So I'm going to use where I attached my elastic together, and I'm going to put it on the back seam. Now, let me turn my skirt inside out. Okay. Now I'm putting my elastic on the right side of the fabric, and I'll explain to you why. You're going to sew around the edge of this, so when you turn it inside out, you want the right side of your fabric to be showing. So I'm going to pin. And then I'm going to pin again. And as you're sewing, you just stretch a little bit. Now, I used my serger to attach the elastic to my waist. If you don't have a serger, you can use your sewing machine with a zigzag stitch. It does the same exact thing. I'll show you both ways. If you have a serger, you just want to make sure that your edges are aligned. You want to put your knife down because you don't want your knife to cut. Okay, you're going to align that. And you're just going to stretch just a little bit as you attach. attach it with your serger. Then you're just going to end up folding that down and you're done. But for those of you who don't have a serger, it's not always necessary. And because you're using a knit fabric, the fabric is not going to fray, so you don't have to worry about cleaning up your edges unless you want to. It's personal preference. You want to do the same exact thing. I used a wider zigzag stitch so you guys could actually see it. When you're doing it at home, you might want to use a smaller zigzag stitch so that it holds a little better. Now, you turn your elastic to the inside and you're done. That's it. All you have to do now is, this catches a lot of dust. All you gotta do is finish your hem. Now there's two ways to finish your hem. You can finish your hem by hand, which is how I do most of my hems, because I don't like to see a stitching line at my hem. I like having a blind hem stitch. Or you can use your sewing machine. If you use your sewing machine, make sure that you have it on a zigzag stitch, but at a really low number so that your zigzag stitch is not wide. Probably at about a 1. That'll give you a really, really tiny zigzag stitch, but what it does is when you put it on, it helps stretch the fabric. Otherwise, if you use a straight stitch on a really stretchy fabric, when you stretch it, it's going to pop the stitch. So then all you have to do is try your skirt on. And I won't do that on camera, so I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back and I'm wearing the skirt. So as you can see, it's pretty pegged already at the knee, so I don't have to take any further adjustment. If you feel yours is too wide, or maybe you've cut too wide and you need to take it in just a little bit, you start by doing it at the bottom of your buns. So you start measuring here, or you make a mark here, and then if you have to peg it in, you sew from this portion all the way down, just to make sure that you get this nice little curve here at the knee. Now all I have to do is take the hem in, and I am all done. And that is how easy it is to make this midi pencil skirt. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.